The ballroom sparkled with golden light, laughter drifting through the air as guests mingled in their finest attire. The atmosphere was warm and glamorous until an icy remark cut through the chatter. Near the grand table, a woman in a glittering gown glanced at the young, pregnant woman in a simple white dress and smirked. Her words dripped with condescension, disguised as a joke, but loud enough for nearby guests to hear. A few laughed nervously. Others looked away. The young woman lowered her gaze, her hands resting protectively on her stomach. Clearly shaken, just as the tension began to thicken, a tall man in a sharp navy suit stepped forward from the crowd. His presence commanded instant attention. Without hesitation, he moved to his wife's side, placing a steady arm around her. The room fell silent, the clinking of glasses stopping mid-air. All eyes followed as he turned his gaze toward the woman in gold, his expression firm, his voice steady but cold. In that moment, the air shifted. He was no ordinary guest. He was the host, and more importantly, the billionaire husband everyone knew by name. What he said next would leave the entire room holding its breath. Whispers rippled through the crowd as the man's piercing gaze stayed fixed on the woman in gold. Guests exchanged glances, some already piecing together the connection between the pregnant woman and the man now standing protectively beside her. The woman in gold, however, lifted her chin, still wearing a faint, defiant smile, as if unwilling to back down in front of so many influential eyes. He tightened his arm around his wife, his voice calm but carrying a weight that made it impossible to ignore. The guests could sense there was history here in spoken words and hidden truths. Many at the party knew the billionaire couple's reputation for privacy, yet they also knew his influence reached far beyond the glittering chandeliers of that hall. The pregnant woman's eyes stayed lowered, but her trembling hands told their own story. Some guests recalled rumors from earlier in the evening about a new business deal, about powerful families vying for his attention. Could the mocking remark have been more than just arrogance? Perhaps it was a deliberate attempt to humiliate, to gain the upper hand. The man's steady voice began to cut through the thick silence, each word deliberate as the entire room braced for what was coming next. The silence in the room felt heavier with each passing second. From the far end of the hall, a few guests leaned closer to one another, whispering theories. Some thought it was nothing more than a petty insult at a party, while others suspected deeper motives. The woman in gold was not just any guest, she was connected to an influential family that had been in quiet competition with the billionaire's business empire for years. Her words to the pregnant woman now seemed less like casual cruelty and more like a calculated move. The billionaire's wife shifted slightly, her eyes meeting her husband's for the briefest moment. There was trust there, but also an unspoken plea. She had endured enough of the public spotlight, yet this moment had pulled her right back into it. In the crowd, a man in a tailored gray suit watched with a sharp, unreadable expression. He had ties to both families, and his presence here was no coincidence. Some guests began recalling earlier encounters between the woman in gold and the couple, polite smiles masking tension, quick glances that hinted at unfinished business. The air felt charged, every small movement magnified, as if the entire evening had been leading to this single precarious moment. The billionaire took a slow step forward, his polished shoes echoing faintly against the marble floor. The woman in gold didn't flinch, but her smile had thinned, her fingers curling slightly against the side of her gown. All around them, the crowd seemed frozen, glasses poised mid-air, breaths held in anticipation, the chandeliers above cast. A golden glow over the scene, but the air felt cold with unspoken challenge. His voice, calm yet edged with steel, carried across the hall. He spoke not only to her, but to everyone watching, his words weaving between personal pride and a warning that was impossible to ignore. Every sentence seemed to push the tension higher, as if the very walls of the ballroom were leaning in too. Listen." The pregnant woman's gaze stayed fixed on the floor, though her husband's grip around her remained steady, unwavering. The man in the gray suit subtly shifted closer to the front, his eyes darting between the two opposing figures. A few guests near the back began to record discreetly, sensing that this confrontation was about to become the highlight of the night. Each heartbeat felt longer, louder. And then, with the entire room locked in silence, the billionaire's next. Words were about to change everything. Before he could finish, a voice from the crowd broke the silence. It was low, but clear enough to cut through the tension, drawing every head toward the source. The man in the gray suit stepped forward, his expression unreadable. "Perhaps," he said slowly, "you should tell them the whole truth before you pass judgment." The room seemed to inhale all at once. The shift in energy immediate. The billionaire's gaze locked on him, a flicker of recognition in his eyes. This wasn't a stranger. This was a former business partner. One whose sudden disappearance from the company had been whispered about but never explained. Now, standing only a few feet away, he looked as if he had been waiting for this moment. The woman in gold's smile returned. Faint, but unmistakable, as if she knew exactly where this was headed. The pregnant woman glanced up in confusion, sensing the change but not yet understanding it. Guests leaned closer, caught between curiosity and unease. The gray-suited man's next words hinted at secrets that could shift loyalties and reputations in an instant. Whatever was about to be revealed wouldn't just settle the tension. It would shatter the room's fragile balance and push the confrontation into dangerous new territory. The billionaire's eyes narrowed, his jaw tightening as the man in the gray suit took another step forward. "You left because you betrayed this family," the billionaire said, his voice steady but sharper now. A ripple of murmurs moved through the guests. The gray-suited man didn't deny it. Instead, he turned toward the woman in gold, and she was part of it. "She came here tonight not to celebrate, but to finish what we started, bringing you down." Gasps filled the room. The woman in gold's confident facade cracked for the first time, her smile faltering. The billionaire looked at her, his expression unreadable, before speaking for all to hear. "You mocked my wife to hide your own desperation. But what you didn't realize is, every move you've made has been watched. Every word, every lie, documented." A discreet nod from a man near the entrance signaled that evidence had just arrived. The tension snapped as the woman in gold's face paled. Guests whispered. Phones came out, and she tried to retreat, but the gray-suited man unexpectedly blocked her path. "You betrayed me too," he said coldly. In that moment, alliances dissolved, truths were laid bare, and the party that began in glitter ended in stunned silence. But as the billionaire led his wife away, a single unanswered question lingered: who had tipped them off before the night began? As they stepped out into the cool night air, the noise of the ballroom faded behind them. The billionaire's wife exhaled slowly, her hand resting gently on her stomach. She turned to him, her voice soft but steady. "Who warned you?" He met her gaze with a faint smile. "Someone who still believes in loyalty," he said, though he didn't reveal the name. Some truths, he knew, were better left unspoken. Inside, the aftermath unfolded quickly. The woman in gold slipped away under the weight of curious eyes. Her once perfect image now tangled in whispers and unanswered questions. The man in the gray suit disappeared just as quietly, his own motives unclear, leaving a trail of speculation among the guests in the days that followed. The story spread beyond the party, retold in hushed voices and online posts. Yet for the couple, the night became less about public drama and more about a quiet victory. They had faced cruelty and betrayal in full view of the world, yet walked away stronger, more united, under the glow of the city lights. The billionaire tightened his hold on his wife. "Let them talk," he murmured. We know the truth, and that's enough.